Hi, and welcome to this podcast of The Everyday Editor. My name is John Crossman. In this podcast, I'm going to start talking about what I call the natural editor. If you can be a natural singer or actor or businessman or entrepreneur or natural anything, why can't you be a natural editor? And the question had been put to me in my career, why do you like this, or what makes you so good at doing this, or something like that, not to blow my own horn. Behind me you see kind of my wall of shame there, which are some of the awards I've won over the years. And so I have a knack for it, I'll put it that way. And it started the very first day I started editing. I actually worked at a TV station, but I had moved out west to play in a band and record music. And we had just recorded some music for some other people and was the height of the disco phase. And so they had asked us to rearrange their songs into disco songs, which we had done. Not too long after that, I actually was asked to tech on a live shot for the 10 o'clock news. And the live shot was going to be from a brand new discotheque that had just opened in the county south of where I live. And so I was asked to drive the live truck down probably around 6 o'clock and set up the shot. Now, I had learned little by little over the previous year that I had worked at the TV station how the truck worked, how you use the microwave mast. And this particular shot was going to be a little tricky because it was where the discotheque was located was kind of in a low-lying area. And the signal needed to hit the mountains on the west side of the valley at the next county north. And then from there, they would be hardlined into the TV station. But there was no line of sight from where the discotheque was to those mountaintops in the valley to the north. So the engineers had told me that, the microwave signal, although it's beams, they react to physical structures. So if I could aim the antenna just so that it was clipping the corner of the roof, they believed I could actually bend the microwave signal so that it would bend enough so that it would hit the top of the mountains, which I couldn't even see from where the truck was parked. So I was sent down early to see if that would work, and it turns out that it did. So I drove the truck down, I got the shot set up, and then I waited for the photographer and the reporter to come down, which they did. And the photographer, there was smoke and mirror balls and fog and all this stuff that a discotheque had. And he was shooting on a RCA TK-76, which was like, shooting with a refrigerator compared to what cameras are like today. But he was weaving in and out, and then there was about almost an inch thick cable that connected from the camera to the tape deck. And I was behind him with the tape deck over my shoulder so that he could weave in and out of people, and I was following with the tape deck that was recording the video. Once we had those cover shots, B-roll shots, which I've talked about in the past, then we went back to the truck, and I transmitted, we had the ability to play back the 3/4 inch videotape in the truck and beam it back to the station, where they edited some B-roll that was going to cover parts of the live shot. And then when the 10 o'clock news came, and it certainly wasn't a lead story, it was a lifestyle kind of story, so it might have been 20 minutes after the hour, but we did the live shot. They rolled the edited tape back at the station, and it all went out without a hitch. Well, I thought, hey, this music that these people dancing that we just taped, they're all at the same beat, which is 120 beats a second, is your typical disco music, as what we had just recorded. So it would be fun to put these people dancing to the music that we had just recorded. So when I got back to the station, I found actually I had the raw tapes with me because we had shot it down there. So I squirreled those tapes away in a cubby that where I kept my other work supplies. And over the next, I don't know how long, couple of weeks at least, when I would finish with the 10 o'clock news, because really I was hired to take care of the news cars, okay? We had a fleet of news cars, and I would do the detailing. So I would wash them, I'd wax them, I'd do the armor all on the dashboards and vacuum the interiors, and my job was to keep the cars looking good. But shortly after I started at the station, they wanted to hire a part-time teleprompter operator for the 6 and 10 o'clock news. So they asked me if I was interested, and I said sure. So I started doing that. And then I started teching on live shots. Live technology was new at the time. And so even if there wasn't a story, many times the live van would go to the local park and, shoot ducks on the pond or whatever as a background to the weather graphics. And the photographers who appreciated me cleaning their cars would say, hey, why don't you come out with me, to the park and help me tech. So I would run cable and I would set up the tripod. I mean, I didn't shoot because pretty much they were static shots. And so I had learned how the vans worked, how microwave worked. I had been involved with musicals and musical theater and live music production all through high school. And so, equipment didn't freak me out, and getting the video to go from the camera to the microwave to, it was a logical path, so I didn't have any problem with that. Anyway, one day I'm just finishing up my, quote, music video, and this is way before MTV. The news director came in and saw me and said, do you know, well, first he asked me what I was doing there because it was a holiday and nobody was there. And secondly, he said, well, do you know how this equipment works? And I said, yes. And I ended up editing stories for the noon news and for the 6 o'clock news. It was a holiday, so they had a much reduced crew, and a reporter had done a story and a photographer had shot it, and they had just left the raw tapes for someone else to put together because it was a holiday. And so I put the story together and showed it to the news director, and I had seen how they did it. And the next day he said, you're hired as our new video editor, which they didn't have a video editor at the time, so I was the first video editor that they hired there. And the rest, as they say, is history. But I lived it from the beginning, and it, not to brag, but it really came kind of natural to me. I always liked stories. Of course, we all read stories and books in school. And so the idea of, who, what, when, where, why, and how wasn't a new concept. And I had seen how they did news stories, and so really I just kind of copied that to begin with until, but from the first day I really realized that life has a rhythm, and that's kind of been the basis of my entire editing career, is to find the rhythm of the story and use that rhythm to help tell the story. And so the result is that many of the things that I edit, if not all of them, I hope, have a certain polish to them, have a certain smoothness to them, even if they weren't necessarily designed that way before they got to me. And that was the power that I could bring to editing, is to, make a normal news story actually look like somebody cared when it aired, because of the way the sound would be mixed. And of course I had a musical background, so mixing the audio was something that I had done before and was at least aware of. And so I had a lot of kind of unrelated but related background information before I ever started editing. And so as I progressed in my career, I would have, people from time to time go, how do you figure this stuff out? So eventually I kind of came up with, now it's 8 characteristics of a natural editor. So in the next couple of podcasts, I'm going to talk about these 8 characteristics. And if you think you're interested in becoming a video editor, you don't have to have all of these, but if you have none of them, I think you're not going to enjoy it, A, and B, you might not be that good at it. So you can kind of use this as a gauge as to if you really feel like this is something that you want to pursue. So I'll just quickly run through. The 8 are: a visualizer, an observer, musical, logical, communication skills, in other words, interpersonal communication skills, a builder, spatial intelligence, as well as the final one, which might be a reason why a lot of people don't like editing, as I've mentioned before, and that is patience. So those are the 8 characteristics of a natural video editor. So I'll start with number 1. A visualizer, as my definition, would be someone that can see how it should look before it looks that way. So when I would be handed a tape and a script, the script lays out, what the story is, and as I'm looking through the raw tape, I'm going, okay, well, that's my first shot. That shot will go with this shot. This is the really important part of the story that they mention here, because the scripts wouldn't have reference to any particular shot. It was just words on a page. And so that was my job, was to connect the right picture to the right words. And I talked in the last video about motivation, and that was, my motivation was always to make the reporter look good. And if I made them look good, the videographer would look good, I would look good, the TV news department would look good. It was a win-win-win for everybody. And so that was my goal from the very beginning. And I came to understand pretty quickly that, different reporters speak with a different cadence, but they all speak with a cadence. And so I'd use the rhythm of how they talked to help drive the way I edited. And when we got into feature stories later with using music, then I would use the rhythm of the music to help pace how I cut a piece together. And so the rhythm of life, the rhythm of music, the rhythm of the way someone speaks, all of those things I blend together. And that's in general, and that's doesn't really have to do with being a visualizer, but as I got a script, I could see before I edited a frame, okay, this is going to be the first shot, and then I need a shot like this, and I could see it come together in my mind before I actually edited it together on a tape. So that's what a visualizer is someone that can see something that really doesn't exist yet. In that way, a good shooter probably has that characteristic too. They get to a scene and they are shooting and capturing what's going on, but they're also aware of the editor needs, an establishing shot. And it's not just any wide shot, this is a good establishing shot because I can see the house fire and the fire engines in it. I can see the police and the accident. And then that shot will lead them to what the next shot should be. And so being a visualizer is the first thing that I think a natural characteristic that a natural video editor should have. The second is an observer, which is related but different. You might remember that I said in one of my earlier podcasts that somebody had mentioned something kind of in passing, and it wasn't even directed to me. But when it came time to put the story together, I remembered what they had said, and I used that little bit of information to be able to convey something a little bit more in the story that might not have been, right there in front of you to understand. But so being an observer just means you're aware of things that are going on around you. And I think you can stretch that into, when you are looking through your raw footage, you not only see the wide shot, but you see, there's someone opening a door to a car in that wide shot. And so when you cut to your second shot and you're picking up that door being opened, even though it was done at a different time, those two shots will go together because you've observed an action in the first shot that's repeated in a later shot, and you can edit those together and make it look seamless, make it look like it was directed that way, almost. And so that's one aspect of being an observer, is seeing, not just the picture, but what's going on in the frame at the time. Another has to do with how do things, how to say this, I was going to say how things work in nature, and that can be part of it. So, for instance, I worked on a story that either directly or indirectly talked about, leaves falling in the fall of the year. And so in my mind I can see that tree. In my mind I can see how the leaves would fall, to the ground. And so when I came for that particular story, I didn't have that shot from the cameraman, so I had to go look through stock video to find the kind of shot I wanted. But I knew what I was looking for before I got there, because in my memory banks I had observed what leaves look like falling from a tree, and I knew what kind of shot I needed to find. So that's part of being an observer. And the easiest way for me to describe it is observing the world around you and using that information to inform your choices when you're making editing decisions. So those are the first two: a visualizer, being able to see what's not there yet, and two, being an observer, being able to bring in information about the world in general around you to make your stories flow and be seamless and smooth to the viewer, and also to be able to add elements into your story that will seem natural to the viewer. So those are the first two. In the next podcast we'll talk about the next two characteristics, which are musical and logical. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the editing room floor.